We do. How many do we eat?
7.
Poker face.
I checked.
Okay. Yeah.
We have 12 members. We have 7 people here, so a quorum is 1 over 50%, right? Okay, I'd like to call to order the Westerly Public Schools School Building Subcommittee meeting for Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. The time is 6:01. Members present are Cindy Kirchhoff, Giuseppe Giancarelli, Kristen Federico, Mike Ober, Mark McKinnon, Audrey Fobert, and myself, Justin Hopkins. We'll have some members that are joining a little bit later, but we do have a quorum. We also have with us as guests, we have from Downs Construction, our owner's project manager, Deb Reading, and we have Randall Luther from TSKP.
And John Holden.
And John
Holden.
From TSKP.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I just met him.
Thank you.
Like a nice guy.
Great, awesome. First order of business is approval of minutes from our May 8th, 2024 meeting. I trust you all have read these over the long weekend, the Memorial Day weekend. So if there are no modifications to these minutes, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is public comment. We do not have any members of the public. Also for the record, joining us, Dan Lathrop.
Sorry, I started without it.
There are no members of the public present, so we will move on to item number 5, approval of invoices. I don't know, we have no approval of invoices. So that brings us to item number 6, owner's project manager / architect update.
Absolutely. I'll run through, Ashley from DBVW isn't with us this evening, so I'll run through what's going on with Dunn's Corner and Springbrook. Right now, the AIA contract is signed by Tower, and it is with Attorney Conley with the town. He's reviewing it. We have stressed with him the time constraint and making sure he's aware that it does need to be executed by the end of June, hopefully way before then, so that Tower can sign up and get a commitment from their contractors. So right now, that is a little bit of the holdup on knowing exactly what we're going to be doing in the schools, because as we've discussed with Tower, until they can commit to their contractors, they really can't get a schedule together on what they plan on doing this summer, but they have alluded to they're hoping to do abatement, possibly painting, some flooring. So I know Ashley's putting some information together to get out to the schools. That said, Attorney Conley, we found out today, is on vacation until June 5th. So unfortunately, nothing's going to happen until he gets back. The elementary school, Springbrook Elementary School roof replacement, RIDE did approve the DD submittal, and the CD approval is pending. Right now, we're just working with Cindy on the existing MOA to get that adjusted, and that is the only thing outstanding right now. So hopefully we'll have that resolved by next week. And then we can, the contract is actually with commercial right now, they're reviewing it. Then they'll have it back and hopefully we can get that signed. And we met with them today, had a kickoff meeting. They have no issue, they love working with the town, they're moving forward with all the submittals, and they've got everything lined up to just hit the ground running. And with all that, I'm not going to steal Randall's thunder, and I'm going to let him talk to you about what's been going on with State Street.
Thank you for bringing that up. A couple of housekeeping items. I don't know if word got out at all, but Julia has moved on from our office.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, but she showed a good opportunity, and I applaud her for making the move. But John Holden's been working on a project all along in the office, And in fact, he's finishing up construction administration on an elementary school in Massachusetts right now that will be coming online in a couple of months. So he's going to transition right into construction administration for us. Like I said, he did most of the drawings. And then also we'll have Andrea and John from Northeast Collaborative. They're continuing for construction administration. So I'm tempted to run around and do high fives, take a victory lap. Because I know we've all been stressing, particularly me, I've been stressing about the budget. Justin's been, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Justin was right, it was fine. Let's go to the next slide. So these are kind of all the bid results. And just as a point of reference, at the CD estimate, we were right there at about, we're at $28.6 million was the CD estimate. And as you all know, that was about $2 million over the budget. And we're also concerned about getting a lot of bidders given the current climate. We got an incredible turnout. We got 7 bidders. A lot of them are very good firms. In particular, the 2 low firms, O&G Industries and Bacon Construction, both do an enormous amount of public school work, very experienced firms. So I was very happy to see that those 2 were the 2 low bids. And also they're so close, that also made me comfortable with their number, that, that there wasn't an aberration. And interestingly, so the high bid was close to 33 million. But the median bid was almost exactly on the CD estimate, which actually is what you want your estimator. You don't want your estimator to be your low bidder. You want him to be kind of in the middle of the market. We kind of stumbled right into that. Do I have the median? No, I don't have that number, but I think it was about $100,000 difference between the median bid and the actual estimate. So O&G Industries was low. The number was $26,250,000. Bacon Construction was about $200,000 higher than they were. So again, very, very tight numbers. We scoped out both O&G and Bacon Construction. We went through the project, make sure we're all on the same page, understand the schedule, understand the phasing implications, the occupied site, parking. Both firms seem to have a pretty good understanding of the project. There were no issues. I had a couple of questions for both of them that they weren't able to answer immediately. They went back and confirmed that, yes, we have that. Yes, we covered that. So we are prepared tonight to recommend
Action item.
we have an action item later on that we recommend award to O&G Industries. So it's all great news. I mean, I don't think we could have asked for a better bid result.
Have you worked with O&G before?
A lot.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I'm just finishing up 3 consecutive elementary schools in Manchester, Connecticut. I'm with them. I did a middle school with them about 2 years ago, a very large middle school.
And it hasn't fallen down yet.
It hasn't fallen down yet. I mean, I will say, as with all firms, it depends on the personnel they assign to the job.
Right.
O&G is huge.
Yeah.
And they were unwilling to commit to who would be manning this particular job at this time because they have a lot of projects out that they're bidding, and depending on which ones to come and how they just, that'll be a decision for them to make. I think it's closer to go time. But in general, I've had pretty much all positive experiences, one kind of exception, but like I said, I've done a lot of work with them, and so I'm very comfortable recommending it.
And just going to tell everyone here that last year they successfully completed the first new school in Providence in 20 years. And they had an extremely aggressive schedule. They did a great job on it. And that project was inner city, right to the curb, all the way around. So they had a lot of challenges with it. Great job.
Awesome. It was also a green ribbon school. Correct.
Have you worked with Bacon?
We have actually, John's working with him right now. That's the school that he's finishing up in Massachusetts. Bacon's doing it. And I will say, they've been an excellent contractor in terms of quality workmanship, hitting the schedule, dealing with, supply chain issues. But I was just talking on the phone with somebody else, and they were asking me about Bacon. And on that job, as with a lot of jobs right now, they're having trouble getting switchgear. And typically, every contractor I've worked with, they say, we can't get switchgear, so schedule a shot, and we'll let you know when it comes in, and there's gonna be a change order for delayed general conditions, because the job's gonna go longer, because we can't get switch. I was expecting all that when they said that they couldn't get the switchgear on. Instead, they said, so we've gone and we've reached out, and we're gonna have temporary switchgear delivered to the job, and we're gonna take care of that, to make sure that we don't slow it. On their own, they didn't ask for money for the initial switchgear, they just did it, so I was very impressed. I will say that they can be tough on change orders, extraordinarily tough. But, you know, they follow the contract terms and, you know, they fight their fight. And so it's been a positive experience with them as well. So both really good firms. I've been happy with either one of them.
I need to inform the rest of the building subcommittee that I have a professional relationship with OMG Industries. And I'm asking the State Office of Ethics what my role can, for the time being, I'm going to recuse from any decisions and any recommendations with them, or any votes on payment or change orders for them. I've probably worked with them as much as you have professionally. I've completed the school in Providence that Deb just referenced was my firm's project. And we have Rhode Island is going in many districts, they're going in a design build capacity, which means that instead of the owner hiring a construction manager or a contractor and a design team separately to have two separate contracts, they're wrapping the design contract into the contractor's contract. So if we were in that kind of traditional project delivery method, I would not feel potentially conflicted with issues of payment, but I'm pursuing projects where I am under their prime contract as a designer. So it's a small pool in southern New England for designers and contractors, and this was bound to happen at some point, but I'm letting everybody know that will be the reason why I will recuse from, I think recusal is the appropriate term rather than an abstention from those votes while I await an ethics determination on exactly what that is.
I think it's an advantage too, though.
Well,
Like, you've worked with them and you know, and you're comfortable with that, and obviously, I would say.
Yeah, I was telling Deb when we were talking today that I know a lot of people high up the food chain at OMG, and if I'm not happy with who I'm dealing with,
There you go.
I can go right up to the top of that food
I was
chain.
gonna say, what happens if you get the warn, so you got,
Exactly.
yeah.
I think, who's the PX, do you know?
Yeah, they did theirs.
Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to present, the next, it's just the schedule, which, you know, here we are, you know, today. And these three sort of flags are the three issues that are still out there that are the potential hiccups to our otherwise wonderful day here. We're still waiting on RIDEM approval, which we will need before we can pull a building permit. So we have, you know, at least a month or so. We don't anticipate that should be a problem. We did our initial submission. They came back with comments. We responded to the comments. They came back and said, we want you to go out and do additional test pits, which was kind of a real difficult problem. But we got DPW to jump out there for us in pretty quick order. We were able to get those new test pits, get some new, they're worried about subgrade water elevation. We got that information, but that slowed the process up quite a bit. We resubmitted it. And in a normal situation, after they have all the information, they need about 30 days. We submitted about 2 weeks ago, so we should, you know, mid-June, we should be getting that approval from them. And the comments were basically, if the groundwater is as you told us it is, it should be fine. And the water was as we told them, so I expect it to fall within that window. The other one is RIDE review. Dr. De Silva has been taking some vacation time, and there's so much work, they brought in consultants to help them process things. The consultants know less about the process than we all know, because they're just being hired. So it's really slowed things down incredibly. We just got approval on the DD submission like a week ago. DD. I mean, they just can't get out of their own way right now. And you can't submit the next one until you close out the old one. So they closed out DD, we uploaded the CDs. We just have a couple, one last thing to upload, and then that will be done. Hopefully that review will go quickly. I mean, they are as aware of the deadline as we all are. So I gotta believe at the end of the day, they will figure out a way to get that approved. But that's an important one because
It's their deadline, right?
exactly, we can't try to find.
Just saying.
That doesn't make any difference.
But what.
That makes so much sense.
Right, what we plan on doing is, once we have approval for award, get the contract O&G, and it's being a little bit larger, I'm sure they're gonna have a bit of a review with their legal department. Give them a week or whatever they need, it'll come back, send it right to the town solicitor, so he can take his week or two. So hopefully, we'll have it sitting for Dr. Garso to sign, so we get that right approval
People leave back when they go on vacation.
on the 30th at 11:59.
When you're, right.
Yeah.
And then that was, as Deb just mentioned, that's kind of the last bullet, is that we gotta get everybody on board once,
Yeah.
you know, that contract is ready to go and get it signed by the end of June. So I think they're all manageable, but they're not boxes that we can check yet, and they are impediments, in particular, the last two, the right review and getting the contract signed. I'm less worried about the right-on review, because again, it's only gonna hold up basically pulling a building permit. And, you know, if we have to slide that a little bit, that can happen.
Yeah.
So that's all I have for tonight.
Yeah, just a quick question. How much under did their estimate come in at? Does that make sense? Like how much was 1 point? I thought it was.
Yeah, that was, did you, in the,
Mike, did you get my email?
yeah, the packet that went out has that information, that's why I didn't bring it.
I saw it,
We have copies of
Okay.
that.
Okay,
What is-
never mind, I guess so.
And it was like
Yeah.
2 million, and I was
I
like.
think it's the last page, actually,
Yeah.
the very last page.
So
That's
the
right,
1.4.
right where we were.
There it is. We got it up here.
No, that's
You did?
what it is.
It puts us in a position where we're 1.469 million to the plus surplus
Across all three projects.
across all three projects. Yes, isn't that wonderful?
As much as I like to take credit for the 1.4, but a lot of it is coming from Ashley and his team.
Oh.
Their project came in. We were just able to come in on budget, but he came in under.
So if you recall where this document was before we went out to bid on State Street, that 1.4 black number was about a 1.2, or it was like 1.2 million deficit. So the economy that we saw from the hard bid numbers basically flipped that. So the email that I had sent to the subcommittee on Friday basically captured what those bid numbers did to the State Street number, and that put us in the 1.4 category. So just so everyone's aware, for our total project costs, if you true up the blue line, and I don't know why I didn't already have this at the ready, but the 31, so State Street total project budget right now, including the hard construction cost, is $31,472,203. The Dunn's Corner total project cost is $12,149,202, and the Springbrook is $7,249,762. You add all those up, and the total project costs are $50,871,167. So as the crow flies, we have a global project bust from the original 50 million of 871,000. We had a school committee transferred authorized fund balance transfer of $1,869,317. There's also the $476,390 number was a capital request for playground improvements. So that was money that we deliberately took out of the State Street bond budget and applied to a capital request. So those two numbers, the 1.8 and the 476,000, are what are getting us over the hump in terms of our budget. So
that's the playground for all three, not just.
No, we have the playgrounds in we have
Duns
Duns and Springbrook in playgrounds.
The capital request, the 476,390, was for a year one capital request. It actually stated Duns and Springbrook.
Oh, it
And then
did.
in year two, we were going to request for
Okay,
State Street in FY '26.
okay,
That moved around.
well, maybe, okay then.
It's still there. It's
The
fine.
target wasn't for this summer.
Target for Springbrook and Duns is this summer, right? That's what Ashley is saying.
Playground,
Satellite
yes,
Tower
yes.
was going to be able to
Right.
get the playgrounds.
Great way to start with the
As
playground.
long as it'll make the kids happy, right?
Yes.
Done.
And that leads us to, Justin, have you received a response?
Sure.
From Victoria, was it Victoria that you reached out to?
I have not.
Interesting, because that's really what's holding up Tower is, and actually telling them to move forward is what he's using.
I mean, the ball's in our court, I think, at this point, is to choose whether or not we're going to have engineered wood fiber put in place, right?
Just because we have a surplus, we don't want to go spending it
Right.
when we need to, right?
Right.
I think as long as we have that letter of maintenance on the EWF, I don't see why we're not meeting all the requirements of the project. Justin was very direct in his question, asking why it couldn't be used, so.
Sorry, guys, I probably should have shared that email. Anyway, okay, well, I guess, that may portend that there are maybe additional funds for State Street. But the point being is that currently if we're putting all of these allocations into a global project budget, we're on the good side of our budget number. So we have deliberately not, I wanted to get all of the contracts in motion first, before we start and seeing where we kind of land in all of this before we start slicing and dicing any potential alternates on Duns and Springbrook. And it's worth noting that all of the allowances that were in the State Street were all deduct alternates. Or all of the alternates were deduct alternates, which means that the base bid for everything was
Includes
includes.
everything that we've been showing.
Yeah.
It is good. And I also checked just in case, if you took, so sometimes depending on the values that different contractors have for alternates, depending which alternates you take, could change who the low bidder is. I went through that exercise, and in no scenario would it change the low bidder, no matter what alternate you did or you take.
Good. Oh, can we go back to the global project? There's one thing that I wanted to note. We, in a working group meeting last week, there's this line item that is, if you, right above owner's contingency at 5%, there's known AHJ modifications to base bid. This project budget assumed, because we're still going through some of the final approvals and we know that there have been some requests from the fire marshal, I forget what it was.
Yeah, there's a question with the fire marshal that we hope is resolved, but also, the RIDEM.
Right.
There's some RIDEM changes.
Right.
And, there's another one out there. There's one of them.
The sprinkler, sink, was there something?
Oh, yeah, and then the Department of, not health, the Governor's Commission,
There you go.
wanted us to add another sink in the nurses area, an accessible sink. So that's a placeholder that Justin recommended we put in just to.
Yes, so this is the risk of kind of going out to bid before we get all of our approvals in place. It's a known risk. So there will be, assuming that some of these will affect the contract value of the project that went out, there will be a known change order that will be coming down the pike to encumber all of these changes. So we put a $100,000 line item in the budget, built into the budget above the contingency. So it's also worth noting that, you know, all of these project budgets are carrying an owner's contingency at 5%. So we have about 1.5 million for State Street, about 5 3/4, 578, 100,000 for Dunn's, 345,000 for Springbrook. So we're still carrying contingency numbers there will be change orders on every project. It's just a fact of.
But we still have, we still have that 5% contingency.
Yes,
So
exactly.
you don't have to keep that.
Right. I think as we move forward, I would like to establish some rules for maybe establishing, you know, a 3-person subcommittee to review change orders up to a certain threshold that can be approved administratively to keep contractors going, just so that we don't need to wait until the next building committee meeting.
And could that be held virtually?
Yeah, I would think so. And then I think after our next meeting, after our June meetings, I think we should have another discussion with the subcommittee about whether or not we're meeting monthly, or, you know, or if we continue to meet bi-monthly. So I think we have a recommendation from TSKP to award, or to recommend to, the path that this needs to travel is to recommend award of the State Street project to the school committee for award of their disapproval of ONG Industries as the lowest qualified bidder for RFP 24-75 New State Street Elementary Project, contingent upon RIDE approval and comments with permission to forward to the school committee for award. So that is a motion. I need to reiterate that I will not be part of this motion, but if I will recuse from voting from it, but I can certainly administer the.
So moved.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? One recusal.
You got a builder.
Yes. So
Congratulations.
I know that we have been, and thank you, Randall, and your team for hanging in there. I know we've had some very, we've had some very anxious building committee meetings. We've had some very anxious Friday working group meetings, but I think we're in a pretty good spot, and we could certainly be in a much different spot had cooler heads not prevailed. And
Thank you, Justin, for being the anchor here.
well,
The cooler head.
Yeah.
The cooler head. Now, we have to get on the school committee agenda, correct?
So I believe the school committee meets next week. Yes.
Gotta get on, Friday, the agenda comes out, so.
Okay, so we need to, and Mark is the one that puts that together?
Rob and Rose and Mark, I
Okay.
handle three of them.
And so would you guys be available to give a brief presentation to the school committee next Wednesday?
What time?
Mine usually goes to 6, or is it?
I think there's gonna be executive session, so it'll be after.
Six.
Session.
Yeah, but we could actually have the executive session after they meet.
Well, what works for you, Randall? We should ask that.
Later's better, because
Later's better?
I'm in
Okay.
Stanford all day, so that's a long,
Yeah, that is.
that part of the state, traffic is horrible.
Yeah. Doesn't get
Just
much
never
better.
how long executive session,
Yeah.
you're gonna see there, so we could be done by 5:30.
Okay, so at minimum, if there's kind of a summary presentation of, site plan, floor plans, renderings.
Yep.
That we can forward. I will also plan on being there to just kind of give the global summary.
I'll be there. Could Andrea be there?
Or Andrew or John, I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. If there are any questions, design-wise, process-wise.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. I'm sure they'll be as agreeable as they were with the other two projects. Very good. Okay, great. You got this through?
Okay, so at some point, we also need to communicate my apologies for not knowing this. Is there any type of site utilization plan that you guys have put together?
There is.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I think we forgot to mention, we met with the senior
No,
center.
it's on here,
Okay,
because
all
as
right.
soon as we got through this.
Wanted to get right to the.
You're jumping ahead.
Yeah,
You know.
I am. Okay.
Yeah, everyone made it through the senior center meeting, including us.
Good.
We only had one person have to leave. It went very well. We had some questions. We got a lot of information on the duplex that's on the property. It's the first Westerly Land Trust house. It was half of a 4-unit row house across town, was moved over there, and the homeowner is very aware of this project, and she made us very aware of her. So, we didn't have any asks that day. We just presented and answered questions. They were very concerned about their shed, which does seem to be almost on the walkway path. So we might want to move that pathway a little bit, or move their shed for them, which seems to just be sitting on pallets. And I don't know if anyone noticed when we were driving out, because it was storming pretty good that day, that parking lot was under about a foot of water, where we're thinking of using as a laydown area, so. Yeah, that was interesting.
In the senior center?
Yes,
Yeah.
you have to get like knee-high boots to get out of your
Yeah,
car.
like towards.
Where is it?
The closest
the
back to the
second
street.
Oh, when you
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
that makes sense, I mean.
Quite full of water. And that
Homeowner,
homeowner, and she owns the house, she doesn't own the land, that homeowner was saying she has a lot of water in her yard. So, but I don't know what the idea is there, just for going back or having another conversation directly with Don, or what are you thinking?
I think let's get O&G's understanding of how they're utilizing the site and how they want to stage the site. Because at some point, they're gonna need to be the face of the franchise here and, have their site super go and introduce themselves to all of the neighbors, give them their cell phone number, all that stuff.
As an accommodation, would we be able to put a drain in for them?
I was just gonna say, there could be a deal to be made.
was
Get
gonna
get
say,
DPW to put a
Big
drain or
contractor.
something.
They are,
They
yeah.
might very well, in exchange for being able to use on a temporary basis, solve the.
Right.
Some water.
I mean, if
That might be very.
And Julia thought some of the bioswales might help with some of the drainage too as well,
Yes.
utilizing that landscape.
Right. I don't know if all that water was just coming from the parking lot, had nowhere to go. I don't know if there are already catch basins in the parking lot, but, I mean, if anything, it would help if your staff had somewhere to park.
Yes.
Separately. That would be a huge plus.
I was gonna say, that's the one,
The hitchhiking.
the one hitch in the phasing plan,
Is that we show that? Yeah.
is where the staff
Yeah.
are going.
You're gonna bus us in.
After you move into the new building and they're building the site in front,
Right.
that's,
This is the carpool
that's the
that we're-
catch.
Yep.
We're gonna get a bus.
So for 3 months or
From
so,
St. Clair's.
it's gonna be a challenge.
Well, did O&G give any idea about the project schedule? Or did they offer any?
They thought they'd be done early, right?
Yeah, both firms thought they could be done early. In fact, Bacon thought they could be done really early.
But not early enough, that's the problem, not early enough to get in.
Yeah, the question is whether or not it's possible to do a Christmas break meeting. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very challenging for a
10
district
days
to pull that off.
Not gonna work, yeah.
But both firms thought they could be done pretty close to around that time.
This Christmas?
That's right.
Well, the other thing you could do is work with the school committee to do a 2-week Christmas break. And then
Yeah.
take away February, do like a buffer. Yeah, you can find a way to make
Or
it
take away summer and just make Christmas one.
work. Western, come on.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
What year is that? 26? No.
That's a good idea.
25,
That's a,
26.
that's a good idea for that 1 year.
That'll be the December of 25.
And I just, you see this, it's
And then-
before, right, in a holiday move.
Well, let's
Yeah.
get there.
I know,
Let's
we're
get
gonna
there.
blame ourselves.
We got a whole year to prep that. Okay. So a couple, I think we're, all right, capital, anything else, Deb, anything
No,
else?
we're
Okay.
good, we're great, thank you.
Right. Capital projects update, anything?
Had kickoff meetings, as Deb said, with the Springbrook roof and also with the security vestibules for Babcock and the middle school. So those are getting scheduled and are on track. We are getting under contract the seal and strut for the teachers and student lots here. The gym floor is under contract and we are working through the schedule for both Babcock Hall and Ward. Working out the layout and the finishes right now, so that is on schedule. The door hardware bids came in, much like State Street, we were favorable in the pricing that came back, so we can afford to pick up the alternate on the middle school. The letter of intent has gone out so that they can start the submittals now and purchase everything, we're on track. Gym locker rooms are going out to bid, and the Babcock Hall ESSER-funded air exchange project, submittals have gone out, abatement has been sampled. We're analyzing the results and how that affects the project as a whole, but right now that is on track.
Any questions for Mark?
Locker rooms, we're doing both, right? We spent so much.
Both sides of Woodson, correct. The timing of it may be that one finishes while the other one is still under construction.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is next steps. So I know Mark said he was gonna be late, but my guess is that he's not gonna make it because we're at the end of our agenda. But I'm assuming that all of this good news will be wrapped in the end of the school year communications with the families. Certainly being at the school committee meeting next week will also allow for that. I am going to be on VLQ this Friday morning at 8. Hopefully they don't want to talk about LMI housing. Frank doesn't, he always asks good questions about the school construction projects. So, but I don't know, Audrey, you and the other principals typically send out like a Hey, thanks.
weekly, monthly,
Okay.
newsletters we can do with this.
Is there gonna be something maybe in the sun or something like that? Just,
I think there should be too.
It will be
Yeah, like a
after
press
it's on the
release.
school committee meeting last time, right? They
Yeah.
did an article.
but I don't know if we should craft
Right.
a press release and
I think so.
the word you
I
kind
think
of wanna
this is
use.
something you would do, Randall? Put together
Or just a
a write-up on the building.
Yeah.
I can certainly do that piece
Touch
of it.
upon maybe, you know, all the.
Should we do a press release and put it on the front page, because it'll have it right?
For all three we're talking about, right?
I'll give you my headshot.
Yeah.
Above the fold, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll actually,
Yeah, I
they
think that's a
say,
good idea.
pictures are probably the biggest thing.
Yep, yep, exactly.
Yeah, when we have good news, we've gotta get it out there.
Pictures and within budget. That's, I
Yeah,
mean, what more
that's-
could you ask for?
Yeah, that's,
Now, I know we've talked about this before, and certainly Justin understands, but we should be very happy that this is the situation, because it's not the same everywhere else.
it's not the same anywhere.
There's everybody worked together on this, I have to say, actually, and I know Randall feels the same way, we really enjoy working here, everyone works in the same direction, we all work together, we're all positive, optimistic, and it really worked out well on this one. But other school districts, it doesn't always work out this way, and we end up with a budget crisis, and then can't move forward, so. It's great that we got where we are.
Thank you. That's all you heard.
Yay.
Yeah, that's all you heard when Charter was trying to go for their buildings, everything's over budget, you're never gonna build in a time, and here's a perfect example of.
Well, we were here too.
What's that?
Yeah,
We were here too.
and honestly, I mean, TSKP had an extremely challenging schedule. And the fact that they got to where they are, and with enough information to come in with such a good number.
That's why we hired them.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So once the dust settles on all of the contract negotiations and everything, I do think we should have sometime around the start of the school year, whether it's back to school night at State Street, we should probably have a groundbreaking ceremony. I'd like to have some of the fourth grade students, incoming fourth grade students, be the ones that take the first shovel before all of our elected officials descend and try and get into the picture. So,
What about, we talked about, and I mean, I know you guys did the senior center, but we also talked about like neighboring. Do you remember we kind of talked about the neighbors there? How do we get some information to them before we break ground?
So yeah,
I mean,
it's,
so you got a couple, I'm trying to think, Audrey, I know you have at least one or two families from State Street, at least one, I don't know.
And one house that's for sale.
Okay, well, that helps.
Which helps.
They're not gonna be they're not gonna be loud, they're not gonna complain.
They might,
Well, I mean,
they knew what they had.
Right. I don't know,
The
I just
road's
think,
right across
we
the
talked
street.
about that at the very, very beginning, we talked about senior center and neighboring area. Just, you want, I think, I guess the newspaper might do that.
Right, so we have some home visits scheduled, so maybe we can add the neighbors to our list and just bring what you're gonna submit to the Sun. We
Yeah,
can bring like
yeah.
a little
And just, and I
personalized
also
memo.
think it goes a long way just to say, hey,
Here
we
we are.
realize that you're gonna be here and there could be banging and there could be whatever, but I think that could go a long way.
We can add them to our list. Going out the first week, last week of June, last school week of June, so if we have anything from you guys, that'd be great.
At the end of the day, it's moving back, so it's opening up the neighborhood more than anything.
yeah, it's
Right,
just
but you
gonna,
got those house, I mean, you got people that are, they're gonna, they're definitely gonna be hearing.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that is the thing that we need to socialize,
Right.
Over the next several months,
Yeah.
is that, okay, now we're actually going to be doing the work,
Mhm.
and it's not gonna be without some frustration and people, but hey, this is the spirit
Right.
of what we're doing here.
Community, right, exactly. Teachers too, I mean, right, we're gonna be uncomfortable for a little bit. But,
These companies work just Monday through Friday, they don't work weekends, right?
They don't typically work weekends. Did we build weekends into the
No,
schedule?
I think the specs say that they can, but they need prior approval from the town. From us.
That's what I would get annoyed with.
Yeah, I don't
I don't
think
think
we're
you
gonna have a
wanna
huge
stop
push
working.
to act.
No, I mean, you gotta pay your
Yeah,
workers.
there's one at a time.
No, I know that, I'm just saying that for neighbors, I mean, that's when you have.
Yeah, the only thing I can imagine
together.
is maybe some utility interruptions that may have to come in on a Saturday or something.
Yeah.
There's a temporary shutdown, tie something in.
But again, if you're proactive and you reach out to them ahead of time, I think that will be better than. Sorry, welcome on Saturday.
Okay. So, any other questions? Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment. We have no members of the public, so the next item is adjournment. Would anybody like to make some?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.